Okay, we've got another matchup we haven't seen yet. UED versus Zerg. How do the bugs react to the Super Terrans? And our Zerg player has a question. Hold on, am I interpreting this right? Does our Zerg player not know what he's in for? I'm not certain here, but I think we've got fresh meat, guys. Oh yeah, he's confused. Okay, this is either gonna be really fun or it's gonna be a total disaster. Figuring out how to play against a brand new race is hard enough. And if you're not expecting to do it and you know nothing about it, yeah, our Zerg player's looking pretty clueless here. That is not good for him. I'm not a new race, I'm Zerg. Yeah, no kidding, buddy. While this chat is going on, our UED player is not taking his foot off the metal. Oh, but neither has our Zerg. He's going hatch first. That's pretty gutsy. I'd be worried about getting rushed. You'll see that our purple UED player has the hard tag next to his name. Hard is the name of a team or clan. They train to play UED and they know quite a bit about it. Teleportation node goes down for UED and it looks like he's gonna expand as well. And for Zerg, I assume we have extractor pool. We do. This game's gonna really beg an interesting question. How do you prepare to play against a race you've never heard of? You don't know how they get supply, you don't know what production facilities produce what units, and you have no idea what the counters might be. Jorg types, I don't get it. That is fair, dude. That is fair. Let's do some intros. Playing the United Earth Directorate in the bottom left, named after a science fiction horror film written, produced, and directed by David Cronenberg. Play it, kill for it, ExistanZ! Double garms being made in that teleporter. Zerg spawning pool about to finish. Our Zerg player in the top right has no idea what he's in for, but that's okay because he's got a proper umlaut on his name. He's Jorge! That, of course, is the German equivalent of the name George, which means earth worker or farmer. Here come those garms. And garms do not look like an initial tier 1 unit. Their blasts look far more deadly than they actually are. They would scare the crap out of me. They eagerly kill a Ling and Jorg has a suitable response. I hope he doesn't just GG right out of this. Are the garms actually faster than slow Lings? Well, I guess there's on-creep speed and off-creep speed. We'll have to see. But that has got to be intimidating when you see that burrowing charge. Jorg responds by getting Zergling speed, though he may well have been doing that anyway. And ExistanZ is going to start his Starship maintenance plant. That means he's already done his Tactics Academy. He's sprinting for air. Oh, those Lings are intimidated. They should totally be able to take those garms. I don't think he knows their burrows on cooldown. There, he brings out the Queen and he drops the first one. Attaway, Jorg. Oh man, it's gonna be hard not to play favorites here. You just gotta have some heart for the guy who just completely threw himself into the unknown. Though I kinda wonder if he would have said yes to this game if he knew what he was signing up for. Don't be afraid of that garm, just go kill it. You got enough Lings. But maybe not enough speed, look at that. But Ling speed will finish shortly, and then maybe the world will be a little bit safer for Zerg. But not that safe if there's air coming, and indeed there is. There's double strike fighters being made right now. Oh, this is a full-on welcome to the UED seminar. The bathroom's around the hall, and so is your death and humiliation. To me, strike fighters are kind of like mutalisks with extra armor. Oh, go Jorg! He's trying to go for some offense. And this is where he finds out how amazing UED walls can be. Yes, their depots turn into turrets, and the suppression turret is amazing against light units like Zerglings. Meanwhile, ExistanZ starts researching Icarus Catalyst. That turns your garms into banelings where they blow themselves up upon death. Strike fighters popping out. They don't look to be going for the mineral lines though. It kinda looks like ExistanZ is looking to use them to do some overlord hunting. They stand in pretty good as your Phoenix or your Viking. Double evos for Jorg. No spores, but he is keeping up on his Queen production, and he's just added a Hydra Den. Also a Roach Warren actually, but it's the Hydra Den that I think he'll be particularly thankful for. Okay, so he's gonna get advanced warning that his opponent has gone air, but I don't think he's gonna appreciate that these strike fighters can actually shoot down as well. They're not just Vikings, they're Banshees, armored Banshees. ExistanZ putting arsenals in the corners of his base, making sure he extends out his vision. Jorg starts his double upgrades. No hydras or spores yet. Queens is all he's gonna have to hold this. Strike fighters. They even look sexy just flying to their opponent's base. They even look good in purple. Oh, he's making more strike fighters behind this. ExistanZ showing that killer instinct. Oh, he stops to kill an overlord. That gives Jorg a few seconds to get his queens into position. It's gonna be 4 fighters versus 3 queens. Oh, he took one down. They need to transfuse or they have no hope. And ExistanZ rotates out the injured strike fighter. Strike fighters do have flaws though, guys. I don't want you to think I think they're perfect. First off, the cup holder size could be bigger. And the FM reception is pretty spotty once you get too far out of town. But other than that, a strike fighter is exactly what you want in your air unit. Oh, I think Jorg caught a break here. ExistanZ pulled back. That's gonna give him a chance to get some more queens and maybe even some hydras. But until that happens, the natural's gonna make for a tasty mineral line. Here comes the queens and they are pretty ticked. Normally, one of the queen's great defenses is that it's neither light nor armored. It's essentially untyped. That makes it hardier and sturdier. But the one type they do have is the type that all Zerg have, is that they're biological. And you guessed it, for some reason, strike fighters have bonus damage against biological. Now just to complete that thought, queens do also have the psionic type, but that's not in play here. Zerg loses a queen, UED loses a strike fighter. That's actually a pretty good trade for the Zerg. Queens don't cost gas. You gotta be impressed with the macro of both these players. They're both pulling in a ton of minerals and they're spending it as fast as it comes in. It's very pro, and look, Zerg's gonna take a 4th. I'd be panicking by now. What insane unit is coming next? Now, Zerg does have his +1/+1 numeric upgrade advantage right now. But UED is double upgrading, so he will catch up. Look at the construction going on at the 3rd. He's making a metropolis. Oh, the strike fighters are gonna park right next to the infusion tower. And look at this, they're all just gonna heal right up. That electrical orange fire looks awesome, but it doesn't really look like a healing effect to me. If I was covered in that stuff, I think I'd be screaming in terror. Maybe the UED doesn't treat its people any better than Mengsk. Jorg going for roach speed, and he's making a huge run of 7 roaches. Don't think they'll be very helpful against the strike fighters, but they will be a lot better than Zerglings against those suppression cannons. Oh dear, ExistanZ is actually making typhoons. There really is going to be a 3rd part to this nightmare. I think poor Jorg's going to need psychotherapy after this. I keep looking at that main to see if we're going to get any spores up, but we're not, and the strike fighters are going to be able to slip in. A lone queen is going to get outgunned here, but maybe her life buys enough time for the drone pull? The queen cavalry's hustling up the ramp. Hydras hatch, but they just get cut down before they can rally, and then the UED pulls out. I probably missed a contraception joke there. 7 dead drones, and you can see just how efficient ExistanZ has been so far in this game. But even still, Jorg's not that far behind. I think that speaks to his mad macro skills. It's almost like hard to see, but that's a Crimson Eye. It's a detector, kind of like an observer in that it doesn't attack, but you can upgrade it to do different kinds of tricks. It's kind of hard to see on this map. It sort of blends in with the lava. Zerg's not exactly using cloak here, so I gather the point is to find the creep doomers. Looks like we're about to find something else that the strike fighter excels at. But hold on, Jorg is really getting his Hydra count up here. He's actually got an army lead. Maybe, just maybe, you can make the skies a little bit of a dangerous place for those strike fighters. Hydras really are a bit like their mythical namesake. Not very useful when there's just one of them, but once you get enough of them together, like the 5-headed Hydra, they start to become pretty effective. And that's when you need Splash, which our UED player does not have unless we count those Garms when they explode. ExistanZ is about to finish up another key upgrade, the authorized spare rifle batteries. He doesn't really use strike troopers that much yet, but they're pretty effective. What Jorg doesn't know is he really wants to target that Crimson Eye. But he'll have to deduce it's the detector because he just won't know that. For now, he just kind of has to approach it like Arnie and Predator. If it bleeds, we can kill it. And then just assume everything bleeds. Oh, interesting. Jorg is making a Nidus network. Perhaps he's thinking the best way to end this nightmare quickly is to teleport my army into his main. He's already seen the formidable turret walls. Nope, I'm wrong. He's just gonna march across the map here, and he's gonna go smack dab into the Typhoons and Strike Troopers. I think the Hydras killed the Garms before they could close, and that was key, but even still, the Garms soaked hits, and that means the Typhoons got to do their thing. Jorg is impressively remaking his Hydra army, which is a good thing because it's depleting fast. Because I was kind of wrong about the UED not having splash. The Typhoon doesn't have wide splash like a tank or like a storm, but it's enough to soften the Hydras adjacent to the one it's targeting. Still, Jorg has fought his way to the enemy gate. That's pretty impressive. But good on ExistanZ for using his ramp to defend. No sense in making this any harder than you have to. And this way he's in close proximity to his fusion tower. There's few things in life that are sadder than queens off creep fleeing to their death. If those queens had a white bedsheet, they'd be waving it right now. But alas, they don't have white flags, because today was not laundry day. Who am I kidding? Queens probably don't do their own laundry. They get the roaches to do it for them. Hey, you really got to admire Jorg's persistency here. He maneuvers to a different ramp and tries again, only this time he has to go right into that turret wall. And there's a fusion tower in there, making his life very difficult. Jorg is actually making a big wave of roaches behind this. He's got the army and the supply lead. It just really looks like he's getting kicked to the curb. The UED just really kind of has his way of doing that. Oh, now the Typhoons are benefiting from the fusion. Jorg has to give up. He pulls back. He's gonna try and remake his Hydras. And look at the slick work by ExistanZ. He's just gonna rebuild his turret wall. He has the beacons ready and he just moves them in. Okay, here he comes. Okay, so normally I roll my eyes when players start balance whining in the middle of a match, but I think we gotta make an exception for our poor German player here. He's put up with absolute hell for about 12 minutes now and he hasn't GG'd out. So I'm prepared to let him voice some complaints here. Jorg, I feel your pain, buddy. I feel your pain. Okay, so that worm isn't exactly in the center of the UED main. Looks like I'm wrong, and Jorg is just using his Nidus worm as a method of getting his troops into the field faster. At least for now. And the Strike Fighters and SCII are back on their creep clearing mission. He's actually going to scout the Nidus worm. That's going to be big for him. That's going to warn him to keep an eye out for worms popping up behind his line. You can tell the Strike Fighters really want the MVP vote. They got snubbed by the Academy in the last cast that I did, with the Typhoons taking home the honors. And so this game, the Strike Fighters are like, no way, we're doing it all. Forget paring down the drone count, we're taking down the whole hatch. I don't see any queens to transfuse it. I think it does go down. It's a horror pinata UED style. And the drones are all going home to complain about it. Once again though, a bit of a broken record. As bad as it looks like it's going for Jorg, he is way up on army now, and supply. He can make a game of this. He just needs to not let his army get smashed by the turret walls. Maybe if he can get his roaches to tank a little bit here. I mean, it's way beyond his tech level right now, but Broodlords would just wreck those walls. But you know what would be really good against Broodlords? Probably Typhoons, and definitely Strike Fighters. Oh, new unit alert. We haven't seen this one before yet. Those are support shuttles flying around there. They're like the SCII in that they don't attack, they are detectors, but they are also casters with 3 unique spells. The main headline grabber is they have something a bit like an EMP, where they just black out an area so that no spells can be cast in it. They just neutralize enemy spellcasters for 15 seconds. They can also cloak individual allied units, a temporary cloak that lasts for 60 seconds, or until the unit attacks. Hope we get to see some of this stuff. But the main thing is that its shadow makes it look a lot like a shark. That is definitely key and a feature you gotta consider when you're deciding your composition. I think ExistanZ is actually just using it as a faster SCII. The SCII couldn't keep up with the Strike Fighters and kept lagging behind. But the support shuttle is beefier, 150 hit points in 1 armor, and it looks somewhat faster. High armor is definitely a theme of the UED. They don't have shields or regeneration, but they do have a lot of units with a lot of armor. Okay, ExistanZ back on the attack here. He's got two-pronged attack he's putting together. He's forcing Jorg to split his army. Strike fighters on the left, strike troopers on the right, backed by a Typhoon. But Jorg is maxed out. He's like, you know what? I'm ready to be inefficient here. I wonder if he's confused by the strike troopers' really long death animation. Because after they die, there's that brief period of time where they're capable of being revived by the Lazarus device. ExistanZ is not using that, thank goodness. And here comes that lurker tech. That could also explain why ExistanZ invested in all those support shuttles. It is hard to defend against lurkers without detection. So props to Jorg, he's taken all that punishment and he's still managed to max out. He's made it to hive tech, he's getting his adrenal glands. His creep is rather stunted, but he's getting his 6th base now. I think these are let's free some supply roaches. Sure, he'd like to kill some workers, he'd like to pull off a scout, but the bar is low here. These roaches' primary objective is just to die. And I'm proud to say they're gonna be wildly successful. So here comes the Zerg horde yet again. He's bigger and badder than ever before though. And I bet Jorg had no idea that suppression towers and heavy towers are both detectors. He was probably thinking, no missile turrets? My lurkers are gonna tear him a new one. Jorg can weather that disappointment though. He is just pumping hydras at an incredible clip. With 6 bases and 85 workers, he's got well over 3,000 minerals coming in. He's even got himself a pretty solid bank. Oh, suppression towers just do so much to hydras. The good news is the hydras have the +3 carapace upgrade, so their survivability is a little bit higher than you'd expect. That's an honor guard we're seeing. It's the UED's capital ship. And he disappeared. Looks like he teleported, but that's just his death animation. Okay, this is getting base racy. Jorg is supply blocked, his army's collapsing, but ExistanZ is also taking a beating. Those honor guard ships take up 6 supply. A lot of the UED units are supply heavy. They're awesome, but you can't field quite as many of them. Wow, Jorg is really doing damage here. The lurkers are clearing out a base. Well, maybe we'll give a little credit to the hydras. They're the ones that have taken all the punishment. I'm starting to get kind of invested in this game. Jorg's looking like he could pull this off. But Zergs are not known for being great in a base race. And perhaps the UED still has the tools to make this happen. Jorg cuts into the natural. There's no opposition. He can hit tech structures. And Jorg's probably like, which ones are important? He probably has no idea what any of those strange boxy shapes represent. Oh, look who came home. The strike fighters picking off some unescorted lurkers. Jorg realizes he needs to be mobile. He's going up into the main. ExistanZ has brought everything home to defend. Zerg has won the base race, so to speak. But has he won the war? The supply differential would certainly make it look that way. ExistanZ has to fight up his own ramp. But boy, does he drop the firepower there. The battle here is almost too close to call. But Jorg is making an army back home. ExistanZ is not. I don't think he has any teleportation nodes left. He doesn't. He has to rebuild one. ExistanZ has been muzzled. He's going to clean up these lurkers, but he's going to have to find a way to rebuild if he wants to stay in this game. It looks like he selected the bottom right-hand corner and just above it to build his bases. Jorg has rebuilt his army. He is several times larger than the UED. Will he locate his opponent's new base? He wants to do that before the teleportation nodes get back up. ExistanZ rebuilding his tech. He's showing the same resiliency his opponent showed him. If Jorg hadn't had his creep spread destroyed, he'd have more vision on the map at this point. As it is, he doesn't know where his opponent is and he has to guess. Is he gonna continue? Yes, he is. He's gonna find it. The teleporters are done, but it's only strike troopers in production so far. Citadel tanks coming home to defend. They get intercepted by the hydras and they just melt. That was expensive. That is GG. Jorg has done it. He's beat a completely unknown race. Jorg, you sexy German god, you. That took some mad skills and patience. He had to go 20 rounds with an unknown force. That is not an easy thing to do, but it is a reminder of one of the most important principles in Starcraft. And that is, whatever else happens, keep calm and macro. Although we like to talk about composition and its sexy micro that always makes the replays, at the end of the day, macro is still king. Get more stuff and the rest can take care of itself. I doubt that Jorg is ever gonna know that a video was made of this, but I hope he knows that his tenacity was appreciated by somebody. I hope you're all having a good summer out there, guys. We've been blessed with some really interesting games lately. I hope we can keep it coming. I know there's been a lot of discussion in the comments section about the UED power level, but the funny thing is, on the videos I've posted on this channel, the UED is now 1 for 4. Small sample size alert, I'm sure. Anyways, may you never find yourself supply capped in the great game of life. And from my base to yours, Zugzwang out. Commander, you're about to be rushed. Do you launch an aggressive counter-assault? Select the box in the upper left. Or turtle up and defend with everything you've got. Pick the box in the upper right. Or you can have it all. Do both and expand with a subscription to Zugzwang Starcraft. Just click the VS circle. From my base to yours, Zugzwang out.